Hello guys, it's JD here, back again for another video. Apologies for any delays. I think with this video we'll finally be caught up with the Daima reviews. Today we'll be covering episodes 10, 11, and 12. We're going to be kind of focusing more on the story beats, so I'm not going to cover every little detail or Easter egg, because there's a lot to cover. With that being said, episode 10 begins with Majin Duu challenging Tamagami 1 to a fight. As they fight, it does become evident that Ku is more of a comedy relief and gag character, as many people should have predicted. Some people were upset, but to me, this is exactly what you'd expect from Toriyama, especially modern Toriyama, with the design and how the character interacted with the, with the story. He always kind of gives you a design that looks cool, possibly, and then he subverts your expectations. So you should have expected that. He gives you a design that looks like Kid Buu, or something harking back to Kid Buu, and then you get something like Mr. Satan. So I was not bothered at all by this. I think it's just people, again, having some kind of expectation that they really want, and not seeing how the writer, in this case Toriyama, has always been. Now you could make the argument that it's retreading similar things that he's done before, but again, this is what you should expect from Dragon Ball. And I mean, again, I knew immediately that this was going to be like a gag character. It just came off as it. And again, I want to see where they go with this, and as the character grows, and to see, what else it will do. So, to me, I wasn't really bothered by this. But as the fight is ongoing, it becomes very evident that, basically Ku's not going to win. Now the scene does switch back to Goku and Ko, who are finally at Warp Sama and are able to bypass to get to Demon Realm 2, which they use the captured Gender Marie ship. So that definitely helped. Now when we get the introduction of Demon Realm 2, the episode's called Ocean, but I didn't realize that the entire realm itself is a giant ocean. It's a giant endless ocean with floating worlds, which are planets. So it's very cartoony, I would say, very perplexing, but interesting, because again, we have the Namekian world is here, the Glen world is here, and who knows what else. We also see this giant kraken-like creature, and apparently they're really strong. Goku and Ko are traveling, and then the Gender Marie do continue their pursuit of them, since they are wanted fugitives. Also, we know that King Gomah and Degesu are watching all this, with their little screens, and it makes me curious if they will notice the third eye that's on the belt of Hybis, since we did see that Hybis found some kind of eye in the last episode, and well, not the last episode, but he mentioned how he found it in the mountains or whatever. So this is obviously a Chekhov's gun. I think it's gonna be used, obviously, and I think, like, very soon we're gonna catch wind to that. I think Gomah's gonna realize that. But Goku's able to stop the Gender Marie. We get some cool action, just like I think in episode, I think it was 5, and the ship's damaged, and it basically gets caught by this, the Kraken sea beast thing. Pansy goes in to try and save some of the luggage, but Goku tries to save her. We get this moment where it seems like they get swallowed up by the beast, and it leaves only Shin and Glorio, which would have been hilarious. But Goku's able to use Ki to dash out of the Kraken, and we see the gang's all okay, except the ship has been destroyed. Pansy reveals that she got the Dragon Ball, and so then they decide to go to the nearest world, which is the original home of the Namekians. So everything is pretty much in a state of decay. No one's really around. Goku then senses that Vegeta and his group have arrived in Demon Realm 2, so he tries a rendezvous with them and kind of warns them about the Kraken. They narrowly get caught again and lose their ship, in this case Vegeta and Bulma's, but they are able to reunite. They land on the Namekian world, and we get this huge moment for the episode, and this is what kind of made the episode for me. So we get this expansion of lore, which you've been getting bits and pieces throughout the series, but this is, I think, the biggest one. So Bulma inquires about Shin's past and identity before, his god role, right? Since we know that a lot of these gods come from the Demon Realm, or they were mortals originally, yada yada yada. Obviously Shin has a mortal name, which is Nahare. Shin talks about the Glen planet, the 5 trees, and how they're pretty much dried up. So I mean, he's really the last of his kind, unless they do something about that. But he goes into the exposition about kind of the genesis of Demon Realm and the upper mortal universe, and we get the confirmation that the Demon Realm existed before the super multiverse that we see, everything that we've known about Dragon Ball, which is big. And then Shin goes into the detail about the different Demon Kings. The first Demon King was Benevolent, and then the second Demon King, Abora, which is Deborah's father, was obviously not a good king. He was malignant and malevolent, and it's what led to the emancipation of the Majins, including the Glens. Obviously, the Glens were being destroyed by Majin Buu as well, but this is more of enough of a reason. Same thing with the Namekians, and we learn about this super Majin named Rimus, and the character design and status is not really fully clear, but it appears divine and up there with the Angels or Zeno. And I think this is a great thing, because this is something me and Unreal had talked about. We wanted to see something that is going to either be used near the end of the story if there is some kind of god level threat, or at least something saved for Super. And so now that they're addressing the concerns that, just like with Super, right, in the upper immortal universe with the Kai, the gods of destruction, the angels, and then Zeno and the Grand Priest, it would make sense that there's some kind of chain of being that's divine that's also in the Demon Realm, especially since it existed prior to all of that. And so that's the big thing. Just like with Super Dragon Ball Heroes, you have the Dark Kings, you have these crazy god level Kaioshin and Kaioshin. So it would make sense that since Super Dragon Ball Heroes has ended, that they are going to use some of that. Or at least try to address some of those concerns, since this is now Toriyama's take on the Demon Realm. So I'm very excited. I really do hope we get to see like the origins of the angels, where that comes from, the origin of the Kaioshin, because that's still an unsolved riddle here. They haven't addressed the different fruits from the Glen Tree. I'm unsure how that's going to be used here. And also other deities, they could set up other godly threats like, Moro, things like that could come from the Demon Realm with this kind of information. So after that, the story, after that little story, that recap that we get from Shen, they head for Tamagami 2, and then episode 10 basically ends with Neva walking up to their ship. Now, I enjoy this episode because of these reasons. This is what I like Daima for. It's a living, breathing Dezenshu, and we're just getting so much stuff. But it does make you think, since with Rimus, Rimus is something you would see out of like a V-Jump, right? This would be like a V-Jump, scoop, where they introduce a design from Toriyama, you get some comments, and then they tease how it's going to lead into like some kind of super arc. That's the same kind of vibe with this. And it's just like with the Dragon Ball Writers Room. I think since the Dragon Ball Writers Room was established in 2016, I want to say, we still don't know much about that. We don't know anything about the inner workings of that. Obviously Dragon Ball is in a corporate battle with the Yoku's company and Shueisha, but it really makes me think that with Rimus, that Toriyama had a lot of this stuff on like as pen or paper, maybe in a rudimentary form, or it just might have been something in his head. But we do know he would visit the office, drop some stuff, some files and emails. So this just makes sense to me. We won't know for sure until we get an interview, which I'm hoping we get once Daima wraps up, maybe around March. But very, very curious to see what they do with this. Now, episode 11 does begin with Neva walking up to the group before they leave. Neva's being really coy, but Piccolo is quick to call him out. Neva notices that Piccolo is from the warrior clan of the Namekians and is reminded of Katats. Now, for people who may not be familiar, Katats is the grandfather of Piccolo. He's the father of the nameless Namekian. And this was a very powerful and intelligent clansman, from what I recall in the manga. Katats and the other Namekians, a lot of them were killed in a catastrophe that happened on Namekian, some kind of climate catastrophe. And so before that all happened, he did have a son, which was the nameless Namekian, and he sent him away on Earth. And one of those same ships that you see in Daima, little insect ships. And, once the nameless Namekian was on Earth, he encountered, the different races and tribes of the humans. This created an imbalance, since a lot of humans are selfish and evil, and so this led to the separation of Kami and Piccolo Daimao. you get a little bit more of this lore too with Saichoro, which is the Grand Elder Guru from Namek. So we get a lot of information back on the Namek saga as well. But the reason I brought this all up is that, in my opinion, I think this is a really huge moment for Piccolo. We have wanted Piccolo to have a lot more character development and spotlight since the Cell arc. And obviously with Super, we got a couple few good moments, right? We've gotten Universe 6, we've gotten the Black arc with Piccolo kind of having a teacher role, and then you have the moral arc, and then with Superhero. But as I've stated a few times before, Daima is serving kind of like as motivations and fuel for future actions and plot threads that will go into the future of Super, I think. Same thing with Shen's true name. They're going to do something with that, and we've seen some things like that occur with, like with what they did with the Pride of the Saiyans with Broly. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do with that. And also the Saiyans' possible connection still to the Demon Realm. In the last episode, we did get revealed that the Saiyans and the humans were not original Majins, like they weren't actual direct Majin descendants. They are actually, I would say, descendant races of possible Majins. That's where it's kind of implying or suggesting. We don't know for sure, but more to come on that, I think, as we go into the future of these episodes. I'm hoping that we get to see, especially since Neva's there, that we get to see the Namekian Book of Legends pop up in some way, shape, or form. Neva's old enough to have knowledge of it, and so we should be able to see where this goes. Obviously with Super, it would be an issue since it's only ever brought up once when they're trying to inquire about the Super Saiyan God ritual. But it is something that I think should be brought up just for the actual canon of the story, since there is stuff they could set up with the Namekian Book of Legends, like future forms, explanations of like maybe Piccolo's orange form, if other characters, other Namekians may get that, stuff about maybe powering up the Dragon Ball. There's all kinds of stuff they can do with that. So I want to see that brought into the story again and to see where we go from that. But it is revealed to Goku and his company that Neva was there when the wish was made to turn them into kids. Pansy asks why Neva does not defeat Gomah with the Tamagamas, to which Neva responds that Namekians are not supposed to use their powers for conflicts, which again creates a gag moment where everyone looks at Piccolo because of obviously his past as with his father, Piccolo Daimao. But this was kind of just Toriyama being cheeky and kind of reinforcing the fact that, yeah, Namekians are a very sage-like, peaceful race. They avoid conflicts, they hide their world deliberately, especially now with New Namek. And with the lore about how they don't like to be ruled, it makes sense. They have been practicing like with their warrior clan, it is a Buddhist Taoist philosophy disguised to us, just like with the earthling martial arts. And their alchemy is obviously Taoist, their tribalism, you see that in a lot of these stories. But I'm excited to see where this plot goes at Neva and how it'll have an influence on Piccolo's character moving forward. They can usually tie it back to the orange form, like that's how easy this is. So we'll see where that goes. Now as the scene progresses, Neva does persuade them to allow him to travel with them because they do need the Namekian language. Now this is a little bit of an issue because Piccolo did use that language when he fought Kami back in early Dragon Ball, but I seemingly, I guess he's forgotten it because he never spoke it very well. Now this is like, obviously that would make sense if you don't speak it, it can, you would forget a lot of things, but it's kind of is a retcon, I will admit, because the only argument I could come up with is that it's just Toriyama infusing bits of his actual personhood, like his actual character. Toriyama is a very forgetful person. He forgets people's hair color, he forgets characters existing like Launch, things like that. So it's very in character for his favorite character to be like him, but it is a stretch, and as of right now it is considered a retcon. So we'll see where this goes, hopefully in an interview. Now the scene does switch back to Marva and Arinsu with Ku. They want to make another Majin Buu, and one that's far stronger than Ku. Now they decide to use all the remaining fragments of the Cyberman seed. They want to put it, I think, 20 centimeters deep, which could result in like an erratic Buu, like kind of like Kid Buu. But Arinsu is willing to take that risk because she wants the Demon Realm Dragon Ball. The scene switches back to Goku and Co. with Neva en route to Tamagami 2. Bulma and the others inquire about Neva and why he didn't leave with the Namekians. He responds that he needs to guard the Dragon Balls and is waiting for them all to return to the Demon Realm, which is interesting actually, because in Super, is something going to happen that forces the Namekians and maybe other Majins to go back to the Demon Realm? Because, obviously Moro was a disaster. I mean, their world was hidden and nearly got destroyed again right after Frieza. And you still have Frieza, by the way. Black Frieza, he's still continuing his plans of, domination over Universe 7 and who knows what else, right? And he's a god level threat at this point. So, Namekians may be out of luck again, even though Goku and his friends have been there to help them from time to time. So will they go back? Is there something that Neva knows that we don't know? Is this something that relates to maybe a post Daima arc that they're setting up? Possibly. I think it's food for thought. We also get a beautiful scene where Neva explains the purpose again of the Tamagamas, and it goes back to the purity of wishes, right? The having a pure heart, Kokudo, right? And this is stuff we've had answered from Kami. We've had stuff that we learned during the Namekian trials with the Namek elders on Namek. So this is all just reinforcement of those themes that I've talked about, Jordan's talked about, Geekdom, Derek. So this is just more fuel for those kinds of arguments. I hope now it's more apparent to people that this is actually there is an enlightenment thing that's being hinted at here. And so, the scene does switch back to Arinsu, Marva, and Ku. Now their little cauldron that they use to make these potions and the concoction is ready. Ku measures the depth with the Cyberman seed. And then we see the next Majin, which is Majin Duu. Shout out to Geekdom because he was the first to report on this. He does do a key shout, just like with Fat Buu and Kid Buu. The whole place shakes. You start getting a testament to his power. He's obviously not like Ku, but he is very similar to Buu. He loves chocolate. He wants chocolate, and it's obvious that more of Buu's essence is in Duu than say Ku. And so Kugo gets the money. He gets money that Arinsu gives him and goes and buys some demon chocolate, I suppose they have. And I actually like this. This is what I was saying, back in the previous episode. There's a reason why Ku exists as comedy relief, and it's to complement this character, and who knows what else will happen, right? Maybe they're gonna fuse. Maybe there's another Majin. We don't know. So, but this is classic Toriyama. Two characters, so we get insights into kind of how they interact with the world. It's just a classic Toriyama technique. The final scenes for this episode, they do run parallel. We get a setup of Majin Duu versus Tamagami 1. Duu is able to perform much better and make quick use of Buu's unusual fighting style due to his flexible body. Meanwhile, Vegeta begins his challenge with Tamagami 2, who has a hilarious insult to Vegeta about sucking on his mother's teeth, right? That's hilarious. The fighting begins and goes back and forth until the Kraken sea creature gets involved and narrowly swallows Vegeta. Pause. Overall, I think this episode was pretty good. Not my favorite, but it is a lot of rising action, setting up the final stages of obtaining the Dragon Balls. Definitely excited for more. Now with episode 12, the episode is the big one, I would say. We're all finally caught up. This is an episode that's up there with episode 8, in my opinion, with the fight choreography and themes. Vegeta continues his fight with Tamagami 2. The Kraken is unable to contain Vegeta. Vegeta powers up from Super Saiyan to Super Saiyan 2 to overcome the Kraken's scrap, and the Kraken decides to just not bother with it anymore. Meanwhile, the fight between Duu and Tamagami 1 gets more intense. At this point, Gomah and Degesu have caught wind of the fact that they've been played. Firstly with Goku's group, and then now with Arinsu kind of plotting behind the scenes. This is where something's gonna have to happen. Gomah's gonna have to realize that the third eye is with Goku's group, or he's gonna have to have some kind of, we're gonna have to see some introduction to his power, since they have hinted that he's a pretty strong magician. So hopefully we see that very soon. Now Degesu is a little bit different. I think he has an angle And considering the statements that Shin's made about Degesu, how he just doesn't get along with his own kind, I just can't imagine that he doesn't truly know what's going on, or doesn't have his own plan under wraps. I'm hoping he does pull, just like with what I said with Unreal in our discussion. I hope he does pull like a Zamasu, not in the exact same way, but I just hope he starts going down the path of like a Kaioshin, like a fallen god. You know, that's what I'm kind of hoping to see. And I think we're going to see that very soon. Now, Duu does continue the fight with Tamagami 1, and while Duu had like a fighting edge, he's starting to run out of energy, running out of steam. Once more chocolate, Tamagami 1 starts to kind of play around with them, and then Ku goes and buys more chocolate. The scene switches back to Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta against Tamagami 2. Vegeta is able to hold his own, but just like with Goku, well, a little bit different, but just like with Goku, like, you know, once they're Super Saiyan 2, the fight's pretty much almost a wrap until Neva notices that Vegeta's representing quite a challenge, and so this is supposed to be a trial, a test of power and character. So he decides to placiate the Saiyan desires, right? Like their desire for fun, exhilarating combat. And so he uses his Demon Clan's magic to amp up the fighting capabilities of the Tamagamas. Really, he's powering up the Dragon Balls, but this is something we haven't really seen before. Granted, we've never seen Guardian Dragon Balls, but you know, this is a concept that I guess you could say echoes the Shadow Dragons, but this is no different than like Dende powering up the Earth set of Dragon Balls, or Mori upgrading the set of the Namekian Dragon Balls. It's the same kind of thing, I think. We're just seeing it used in the concept of like a magic warrior that's able to use the power of the Dragon Balls. So little bits and pieces of GT, little bits and pieces of already established Dragon Ball canon, as we've seen with Kami, Dende, Saichiro, Moro, probably Eska too, if Eska is the next successor of the Namek Elders. But Tamagami 2 does have this like cool rainbow glow, kind of like Fuse Zamasu's Halo aura, and it's just pretty much a one-sided fight. Like Vegeta's not able to do much. The scene switches back to Duu. As he's about to be defeated, that's when Ku comes in, throws the chocolate, and then we get the classic Buu power-up, the steam and everything. Buu then starts to overwhelm Tamagami 1 with the Ki Blast. Duu learns pretty fast, just like with Buu. Now, Tamagami 1 also powers up with this like red-orange glow. Not sure if Neva did something when he powered up Tamagami 2 directly, but since Dragon Ball and... well, I mean, since the Dragon Balls are shared, right, their power, their sets, it's a set, right? I mean, so whatever Neva did to one Dragon Ball should have affected all of them. So, I mean, in theory, Tamagami 3 is now more powerful, and then obviously now Tamagami 1 is more powerful, but we don't know for sure. This is something that might need to be confirmed in an interview. But it's more impressive, though, because now Duu is fighting an even more powerful Tamagami 1, who is already kind of at least Super Saiyan 2, possibly Super Saiyan 3 level. They have this final struggle, but Duu emerges victorious. So, you know, Tamagami 1 has actually been defeated. And just like with Tamagami 3, there's a second part of this. There's a test. Now, it's a game of summation. So it's a series of energies shown on the screen. It goes so fast that even Arinsu can't calculate it. But we know that Ku's kind of charm is that he's more brains than bronze. And so in a classic Toriyama fashion, he gives us the correct sum, and then he tells his bro, which is hilarious. This is like those like internet memes where it's like, you know, you have this equation on the board, they don't know what to do, and then the kid shouts out, "Oh, it's that answer." It's the same kind of meme. Like, I'm sure Toriyama had seen those if he, you know, because he has kids, of course. Everyone's surprised, but you know, it's fair, and so Tamagami 1 does give Duu his own Dragon Ball. So this is where I'm a little bit in the minority, I would say. I was hoping Tamagami 1 would be used for like Goku and Vegeta, them having to maybe fuse, something like that, just because I love the Tamagamas, and I wanted them to be even more of a challenge, and so I was hoping Tamagami 1 would be like the most powerful one, and maybe they would even have a fusion as like a final trial. But I do think that this was executed pretty well, and so now I'm left wondering, what is the next move for Arinsu and the Majins? You know, what are the Majins going to do now that they've kind of served their initial purpose? Are they going to start fighting Gomah now? You know, so it is interesting. I just, you know, it's just I wouldn't say it's a pet peeve. I don't think it's like I mean, it is an expectation that I kind of set up myself, you know, back when I did the Tamagami 3 video, but I do like the Tamagamas, and it's just, I guess, maybe I wanted more, and so if, obviously Goku and Vegeta haven't gotten into the first realm, so maybe that's why. But like I said, it's an open mind. I want to see where they go with this. But I think the do and the coup stuff with the Tamagami was enough stuff. It was enough content, I think. So overall, I do want to see the where they go with Dr. Arinsu and the Majins from here on out. And then for the final part of the episode, of course, this is the biggest part. Vegeta powers up and we get Super Saiyan 3. Now, the design and features are interesting. Obviously it looks very much like Sonic the Hedgehog, but I think the designs go back to Toriyama's original sketches of Super Saiyan with the Beast Gohan-like hair and even a tail. I like the design, and I think Vegeta may use it in Super since they've now established that he has it in canon. Now, it is curious how he learned this, just because it took Goku 7 years in Otherworld. So, obviously at this time, Vegeta's been using the gravity chamber, maybe the hyperbolic time chamber, but, considering Gotenks got it pretty easily, it makes sense. It makes sense that Vegeta could do it. Now, some people have a problem with this and how you address it with Super. There's really two perspectives I have. Firstly is Vegeta's actual own views of Super Saiyan 3. He always gets triggered when people ask him about it, and just like with Trunks during the Black Arc when they sparred. And we even know that the TOP Goku, even Moro Arc Goku, because he did use it in the Moro Arc, it is a form that continuously drains stamina. So even like Goku, in theory, if he had mastered the form, it doesn't seem like you can get rid of that stamina drain. So it's really just a trump card, if nothing else. So Vegeta being a more tactical fighter, why would he use it if he can just power up his other forms to those levels, like Super Saiyan Grade 4, right, and then Super Saiyan 2. So, or just focus on his own base strength, which is what they've been doing in Super. So, I mean, that's the first way you can look at this. Now, you could make the argument that he could have used it against Beerus, but, it doesn't matter, because if he had done it against Beerus, he would have got one shot just like Goku did. So, the other view I have is kind of goes back to my debates with Emish about power paradigms changing. My view is that the characters can power up to a level of a said form without necessarily transforming. It's why you can have scenes like where a character like Vegeta can have a rage boost, power up to the said level of a form that was already previously introduced, but not take that form, such as, of course, Super Saiyan 2 Rage Vegeta. But you can also see it with Rage Trunks, right? Rage Trunks against Goku Black and Zamasu. Those level of powers are definitely Super Saiyan 3 level, maybe even God forms, right? Because people thought it was like a hybrid God form, since Trunks is a hybrid Saiyan, but obviously it wasn't. But this is kind of going back to what they already established with the different iterations of Super Saiyan. But it also you see it with Ultimate Gohan, right? Like with Ultimate Gohan, you have his awakened, all of his latent power awakened at the time of when the Kai did the ritual. Gohan thought of using Super Saiyan, but the Elder Kai told him no need. So, I mean, in theory, Gohan could have gone Super Saiyan 2 against Bootanks, but it wouldn't have mattered because all of his power is already drawn out. At that point, he'd just be draining his ki. So, I mean, they've already set up that concept. I mean, and again, just think of a thought experiment. Consider End of Z Goku. Let's just say he's doing image training, or let's say he's sparring with, say, Oob. At this point, Goku would have proper ki control, so Goku could just shoot his ki up to a level of any of the Super Saiyan forms, even the God forms, right? Pass through all those barriers of what would be Super Saiyan 1, 2, 3, and so on, but still be in his base form, right? Because that's the whole point of their training. Goku is supposed to get to a point where his full power is his base strength. He shouldn't need to transform, because you're just taxing yourself with energy. So that's what it's kind of similar to the Saiyan Beyond God thing that they hinted at with the movie continuities, but again, it's there as an argument, I think. But anyways, going back to the final part, Vegeta does effortlessly, pretty much pummel Tamagami 2. It's almost sad. And then he gets finished off with a Gala gun and then a punch to the face. He goes through like a planet. It's pretty cool. I love the cockiness of the form, the callbacks to Vegeta style of fighting as with other Tamagamas. Well, not other Tamagamas, but as with the test, right? There's another test, and it's a reading puzzle. And it's kind of funny because this is like the same kind of test you would get on LinkedIn or some kind of job interview, maybe even like a reading class. This is definitely a Toriyama thing. I think all these little tests were Toriyama things. I don't think it was Toei at all. But Vegeta's able to answer the question as being 0 because the animals that are eating the said quantity of biscuits, because one of them's a snake, I guess it doesn't eat biscuits. So it is true objectively. It is a answer that's correct. It may not be the actual true answer to the question, but it is a cheeky way of basically giving an answer that's valid. And so yeah, Tamagami 2 honors that answer. So they get the Dragon Ball, right? You know, now we're at the final phase of the story where everybody has the Dragon Balls, and now we have to figure out what Glorio's gonna, or not Glorio, but we have to see whether Glorio's actually gonna betray them or not. But also, we gotta see what Gomah and Degesu are gonna be cooking up. So the episode ends with everyone leaving. Ship is kind of mess with. It's not damaged, but I mean, you see smoke coming out of the ship when they're leaving. But it seems like we're at the point where Glorio is likely to betray the heroes. I think leave them for dry. I don't think they're actually going to leave Demon Realm 2. I think they're going to be stuck there for a little bit. And I'm curious to see how Shin's going to react, because it seems like Shin has already figured on to Glorio's plan and just been trying to give him a chance to change. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm also curious again, like if Gomah's going to realize that Hybis has the third eye on his belt, because he's been paying attention to their story beats for a while now. So I mean, I would hope he realizes it. Probably Degesu is going to point it out. But overall, you know, we have 8 episodes remaining. There's an episode coming up this week. I enjoyed this episode. I still think episode 8 is the best so far, followed by 10, and then now this episode. But I am excited to see what Glorio is going to do and what Gomah is going to do. So, and I want to see more secrets of these other races, these other Majins, other godlike entities. Let's hope we get more of that moving forward. Now, in terms of the rest of the week, I do have a discussion video planned, as well as a philosophy series video, so don't miss that, guys. And, you know, again, thank you guys all for the support. Thank you all for the views and the comments. I really like, you know, seeing you guys respond to these videos, and you know, I'm open to feedback, so, you know, leave your comments down below. Reach out to me on Twitter if you want, you know, certain art to show up, but you know, I can definitely draw some of that stuff for you. But yeah, I'm very excited going into 2025, guys, and I hope to see you guys there. This is JD signing out.